Hello and welcome to this edition of The Guys, your place for fantasy football analysis and expertise. I'm your host, the Fantasy Doctor. With me as always, the guys. To my right, Big Red, Mr. Mark Down.
What we doing?
To his right, the smartest man on the panel, the Professor, Mr. Ryan Alt.
Welcome back once again.
To my left, a man who paints in fantasy anger, the artiste, Mr. Jay Greenwald.
Hello and go green as always.
And on the end, the Canadian Bacon. Joining us again, Mr. Kyle Marchand.
Hey, welcome back, guys. Glad to be here. Go Red Blacks.
So week 2 was a great week. Let's get going. Bianca, what's first?
Yeah, booms of the week.
Bianca said booms of the week. We're going to jump right into it, Professor. Your booms of week 2.
First, I want to talk about Philip Rivers. I know it's a guy we've talked about, in and out, kind of laughing about him, with everybody going down there, but he's still 3 for 220 and 4 touchdowns. I think Benjamin out there on the outside is filling in nicely, and I think Melvin Gordon's stepping up, doing pretty good in the second year.
Philip Rivers, the number 2 rated quarterback in fantasy through the first 2 games. I don't think anybody saw that coming. I think there's a big surprise there, but amazing from Philip Rivers. Give me another boom.
I'm going to go with my guy running back Matt Forte, the guy there at the New York Jets. 3 touchdowns, not great on yardage, only had 100 yards, but he's taking those tough yards and he's getting it in the end zone. So I kind of like him as well.
And I hope he plays this week, still on the questionable list, but hopefully Forte plays. I've got him on one of my teams, so I extra hope he plays. Let's go with you, Big Red. Booms of week 2.
Yeah, as much as I hate to say it, I actually got a package of ice on Tuesday from our own nuts from Matt Ryan, who said, carry this around because you got kicked in the nuts by me. He goes off 300, almost 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. He is playing against Oakland last week, so I take that with a grain of salt, but he looked amazing. He looked like a legitimate NFL quarterback, so we'll see.
Well, and he does have the Saints this week. I think everybody, when you play the Saints, you're in for a monster game. It's happened the first 2 weeks of the season, so it should be another monster game. The Saints, 25th in passing defense. So I like Matt Ryan a lot this week as well. Big Red, before we move on, give me one more boom.
Yeah, huge fan, Stephon Diggs. Once again, you get another quarterback comes in, AP goes down. He still goes off. Got 11 targets. 9 catches, 180 yards, and a score. The guy looks legit. He kind of looks like a young Antonio Brown, getting the separation, quickness. He looks like, why'd you draft Treadwell? He looks like number 1 wide receiver.
Yeah, he really does to me as well. I love him in the preseason. All preseason long, the guy was going off. When Bridgewater went down, everybody was concerned. But I got to tell you, I think Bradford, I think there's a nice chemistry there. There's a connection. I think Stephon Diggs may take a step up, actually, as an upgrade with Bradford there, especially with AP going down. On to you, Artiste.
I like everybody in Jacksonville this week. I know they've been a little bit of a disappointment so far, but they're at home. They're desperate for a win. I like Hearns. I like Allen Robinson. I like Blake Bortles. They're playing Baltimore. I don't like Baltimore's defense. I think that they like I said, they need a win. I think they're due to break out. I think they're going to have a monster game. I like everybody there.
I like a ton of points in that game in general. I don't think either one of them can stop anybody on the defensive side of the ball.
Right.
I like everybody on both of those teams. And I agree with you. Bortles has put up 2 300-yard games. The guys put up some yards, but like a lot of last year, it was garbage time. I think everybody expected Jacksonville to take a huge step forward and actually be a good football team this year. You're still getting fantasy points out of Jacksonville, but you get them the same way you did last year. Out of a team that is a lot of garbage time. For fantasy, we don't care, but it would have been nice to see Jacksonville take that step forward. Maybe this week they do it. I think that they do beat Baltimore this week, but I think it's a flurry of points on both sides. I think it's going to be back and forth, 50 points. Let's get down to you, Canadian Bacon.
Going off what Professor said, I have Travis Benjamin. 6 catches, 115 yards, 2 scores. We all kind of worried after Keenan Allen went out what that offense was going to look like. I'll be a homer. I'm a Chargers fan. Didn't see this coming. He looks all the part as the number 1 right now, and a huge get for that offense.
I agree. One more boom before we move on.
I'll say Ryan Fitzpatrick. Playing in a weird situation there, I get it, but 340 passing, I know it was against the Bills, but through 2 weeks, 565 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. He's putting up numbers, and a guy that you probably can get for almost nothing. And if you're looking for a quarterback, 260 and a score every week isn't the worst thing you can do.
And Fitzpatrick still might be out there on a lot of waiver wires. This is a guy who's still available.
Yep.
You might not have to trade for him or pick him up. He's probably sitting there. I think he has surprised. I think he surprised everyone in this panel. Through 2 weeks, he's been pretty amazing. We're gonna move on. Bianca, what's next?
I think we're talking about bus, but I follow you guys like that.
We do like bus. This is Bianca's segment. Amazing bus of week 3. So I'm gonna start at this end this time. Canadian Bacon, give us your bus of week 3.
You know, Aaron Rodgers. Just don't know what's going on in that offense right now. Last week, 20 for 36, 213. Doesn't look the same. I mean, something going on there. That offense looks all out of whack. Don't seem to be putting up the points. Don't seem to consistently move the ball. A lot wrong. I know they're playing the Lions, and if they struggle this week, it's time to hit the panic button on a lot of guys in that offense.
Aaron Rodgers, 1 complete year now, guys. 1 year without a single game with a quarterback rating over 100. In his career, he's averaged over 100. A complete year. When anybody tells me that there's nothing wrong with Aaron Rodgers, that's a telling stat. I don't know how you can say this is the same guy who is a lock for not only the Hall of Fame, but a lot of guys saying the GOAT. This looks like a different guy, and the numbers are becoming telling. Let's go to you, Artiste, your bust of the week.
I'm going to say the backs from Minnesota. I mean, I understand there are going to be, a lot of people who had AP, they're going to want to pick him up and swoop him up. And I understand. I don't blame anybody for taking him. That may be the best they can do. They got to fill in with somebody. That may be all that's available. I just don't think that there's, they lost a great lineman in Khalil. That's going to be a huge factor. And now they've got a quarterback in Bradford that's going to have to, carry the ship. And I don't believe in Bradford. Not that I thought that Bridgewater was anything special, but I think that he's better than Bradford. That's just my opinion, what I've seen of Bradford so far. So I don't think they're going to move the ball a ton. They're playing against Carolina. It's going to be tough to get in the red zone. I don't see a lot of opportunities for these guys to get in the end zone. I just don't think they're going to do much. Either one of them.
And before we get to Big Red and the Professor, let's do a quick hitter on that. Minnesota backfield. Quick hitter. And I just want it, and I'll start down here and we'll go the other way. Professor, is it Asiata or is it McKinnon?
Asiata, I guess. Flip a coin. I think it's going to be about equal.
Shared backfield, yeah. Maybe Asiata in the goal line.
Yeah, McKinnon's obviously more talented, but I don't think Asiata probably gets a single carry inside the 5 because I'm not sure if Minnesota gets there.
maybe in for a rough week. I don't know. Stephon Diggs looked really good, and Bradford seemed to connect with him this week. Last week, maybe they go through the air. Asiata, McKinnon.
I said McKinnon.
If you're reaching for one of these guys, I'll take McKinnon just on the big play threat.
I agree. I think if I take one of these guys, and quite frankly, I probably don't want either one of these guys, but I don't want to take one. I think Jared McKinnon has much more upside. Asiata might get 8-9 carries if you're really fortunate. 3 or 4 carries is probably more likely, and all of them inside the 5. He's got to score on those or he becomes worthless. Jared McKinnon's got to move the chains for these guys. I think they're going to have somebody who runs the football. Certainly not going to be Sam Bradford. Let's move to you, Big Red. Your bust of the week.
Yeah, to me, I'm going to circle back. Last week, Sammy Watkins. Tyrod Taylor put on an absolute show last week. He got outplayed by guys you've probably never heard of. Goodwin and Salas completely outshined Watkins. Watkins was a guy I know he was high in pretty much all of our panels, and he just looks like something's off. Whether he's hurt, to me, Sammy Watkins is a guy you can sit until other notice. I don't see him producing this week either.
He seems injured to me. He had the surgically repaired foot. I just don't think he's back to 100%.
Yeah, if he is, this is going to be pretty rough.
Yeah, well, you know what, and we see a lot of running backs hit the wall, where 1 year and one game they're amazing, and after that, they hit the wall and they're no longer any good. Maybe that's happened to Sammy Watkins. I know he plays wide receiver, but we see that happen to NFL players. Maybe it's Watkins' time. Let's kick it down to you, Professor, your bust of the week.
I'm going to say either wide receiver in Denver, whether it's an Emmanuel Sanders or Demarius Thomas. They're facing a Cincinnati defense, first time at home in the jungle, and the first 2 weeks they've shut down Brandon Marshall and one Antonio Brown. So I don't like either of those guys. I think the crowd's going to be crazy. Look for a better option.
Yeah, Cincy actually has been a monster. I mean, it hasn't worked out for them on the final score, but as far as shutting down fantasy, they've really done it. And you're right, Antonio Brown, a complete shutdown last week of Antonio, #1 wide receiver. So, guys, let's move on to buy low, sell high, guys. We're about to enter week 3. I'm a big advocate of not making a lot of moves before week 3 or week 4. Evaluate your team, see what you have. But I know what's happening. I know guys start trading after week 1, and a lot of guys, that's how they build their team. That's how a lot of guys ruin their team. So guys, let's talk about trades. Guys, if you think it's buy low time, it's sell high time. And I'm going to kick it down to you. I'll start with you, Professor. I just want your buy low, though. Let's go through the buy lows, and then we'll run back to the panel and talk about the sell high, guys. Who's your buy low?
Chris Ivory. He hasn't played much. I don't think he's played yet this year. He's had some issues and undisclosed injury. And when you look at T.J. Yeldon, he's been one of the worst running backs in the league. I think when Ivory gets on the field, which I think he does in week 3, I think he's going to get quite a few carries. They're going to try him out and see what he can do. But I don't think he's on too many people's radar because he doesn't have stats to prove it. So if you can get him, go out and get him.
Yeah, Yeldon has absolutely been a disaster running the football. He's got quite a few targets, but running the football, he's in the 30 yards for 2 games. I mean, absolutely a train wreck there with Yeldon. Big Red, you're up.
Yeah, my guy to me is T.Y. Hilton. He's got 23 targets, leads the NFL in targets. Has done not a lot with it. With Moncrief going down, I think he's in for more targets. And I think he's a guy that you can look at, he's done nothing. But he's still a #1 wide receiver with Andrew Luck, and a team that surprisingly looked much better against Denver's defense than against the Lions. I think this is a team that's going to get it figured out with that offensive line, and I think you're going to see him go on a barrage here shortly.
Artis, your buy low.
Well, Big Red just stole my buy low. I do love T.Y. Hilton. That's my guy right there.
I like it. Means he's probably the guy.
No, I do. I do. I just think that he's, like he said, with Moncrief being banged up, I think that T.Y. is a guy that the potential is huge for him. I kind of feel like this is a guy who still might bust out and just be like amazing over time. Give it a year or 2, perhaps. We'll see. But yeah, I like him. I know he hasn't done a whole lot, and people might be down on him, be ready to get rid of him, and now would be the time to pick him up because I do think he will come around. I really do.
Canadian Bacon, your buy low.
I'm going to go Sterling Shepard. Had a good first week. We all kind of wanted to look and see in week 2 as a rookie struggle. But what I did see was a lot of open passes missed. He was open a lot, didn't get targeted a lot. But this week, when they're playing Washington, you got to think that Josh Norman's going to follow either Cruz or Odell Beckham around the field. That gives Sterling Shepard a safety or someone as a nickel corner on him, and I just think he's going to be outclassed, and he's going to put up big numbers this week. If you can get him now, I think he's up for an uptick quick.
Well, Sterling Shepard's numbers last week, 8 of 8, 117 yards in week 2. He's going to be more difficult to get after that kind of stat line, but I agree, if he's out there, that's a guy you buy low. I actually like Eddie Lacy as a buy low. He hasn't done much the first 2 weeks, but he's had lots of opportunities, and he's going to continue to get those opportunities in this offense. The touchdowns are going to come. I think with 0 touchdowns in the first 2 weeks, this is a guy that a lot of guys will dump, and you can pick him up now, and you're still going to get 8 or 9 touchdowns out of him the rest of the way. I like Eddie Lacy as a buy low. Guys, let's talk about your sell high guys. And I'm going to mix it up. We'll go with you, Big Red. Who's your sell high guy?
To me, it's got to be D'Angelo Williams. this is the week, this is the last week you're going to get to play him. I think you go and find whoever has Le'Veon Bell, and you dangle him. The guy who has Le'Veon Bell, if you watch our show, you know, we still don't think, even when he comes back, he's going to make it through a full season, which means you have the magic ticket. However, when Le'Veon Bell comes back, you have nothing, okay? So now you can dangle this. If you can get a stud wide receiver or a stud running back that you can play all year, now's the time to sell. You're going to get one more great week out of Angelo this week. But after that, you have nothing. So if you can get something right now, it's time to sell.
Is that the magic ticket or the golden ticket?
Hey, listen, Willy Wonka and Heaven should be the best movie I've ever seen. So
But that's the golden ticket.
I got a golden ticket.
I want to make sure, because you get the magic ticket, you're not seeing Willie. No Willie for you.
That's what she said.
That's right. Some nights, Mark may want to see Willie. I don't know. We're taking the show in weird places. Let's go down to you, Professor. Your sell high.
Ironically, it's Matt Ryan. I think if you have him playing him, because his stats have been fantastic, 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, that's great, but he's going to start going up against some really tough defenses. I think right now his value is just about as high as it's going to get. I think you can trade him. Hopefully you have another running back on your roster that you can put in place of him. But I think now is the time to rid of him.
I like it. I agree with that. Down to you, Canadian Bacon. Your sell high.
I'm going to go off the rails a little bit. You guys might kill me on this one. I'm going to go David Johnson in Arizona.
Canadian Bacon just went off the rails.
I did. Bear with me for a second, though.
Right.
He got less carries last week than Chris Johnson. He got less targets in both games so far than Chris Johnson. His numbers are greatly inflated. He had 3 catches for almost 100 yards. You can't guarantee those 10 points every week. He's not going to average 36 yards a catch. I think his numbers are up simply because they're inflated on weird anomalies right now. Chris Johnson seems to be getting the important carries, which are the red zone targets and a lot later in the game. I don't know what's going on in Arizona. I don't know if he's in the doghouse, something's going on, but I don't like seeing a backup get more carries than the #1 running back coming into the draft.
And CB, I know we're not there yet, but when we get to waiver pickups, you're going to talk about Chris Johnson, I assume.
He's one of the guys out there. You have to look at him as a guy who had 4 more carries than David Johnson, who was supposedly the #1 running back in the NFL this year.
David Johnson and Chris Johnson, but David Johnson as your... Is Bianca... What do you? She's putting something else in your cup.
That's okay. It's not most.
Not like I do think it's I think it's interesting, and I like your backup for it.
The rookie wasn't supposed to win. Yeah, it was supposed to win.
Can I request Molson next week?
There should be a delay on that, and no, you cannot.
You can request it. You just
You
might not
request
get
it, yeah. But unless you buy.
To be fair.
Artis, take us out. So high.
First of all, I'd like to say that the numbers there, that is amazing. The fact that has happened, that Chris Johnson last week is getting more carries. I just wanted to make a point about that. But as far for me, it's going to be, and I know my good friend the Doc is not necessarily going to like this, but for me, it's Matthew Stafford. I've always been a little bit of a Stafford hater, and it still continues. It's going to continue. It's probably never going to change. The guy might throw 7-8 touchdowns next week, and I'm probably going to still be a Matthew Stafford hater. But I just don't think he's going to continue to do what he did at the end of last season. He had a great first week, and not such a great second week. I'm not a big fan. Just because you have the big arm doesn't always mean that equates to a great quarterback. You know, I mean, I get tired of the whole big arm argument.
The jury's been out on Stafford, I think, since he came to Detroit. #1 draft pick. He's had seasons where it seemed amazing. The fan base was strongly behind him. Everybody thought he was a savior in Detroit. And then he's had other seasons where everybody wants to choke the guy. I mean, I don't think... I really do think, though, with the addition of Jim Bob Kidder... Oh, we got to get somebody else to do that. Yes, much better. We need somebody else to get that. Big Red, you're now in charge of the banjo when I mentioned Jim Bob Cooter. I do think that Jim Bob Cooter might be the difference in Detroit overall, in particular with Stafford. We'll see. Time will tell. A lot of people are down on Stafford. I guess if you can sell high, I don't know that people are buying Stafford high, but if you can sell him high. He did have an amazing week 1.
Right.
Week 2, not so much. The numbers kind of fell off. I think after this week, you're in to sell him high because I think he has a bounce back week this week, but we'll see. Quick hitter, guys. Oakland seems to have a running back problem. Latavius Murray, John Ray Washington, Jalen Richard. Is Oakland now running back by committee? I know we're seeing this every team, it seems like, is going to this, which is absolutely a fantasy heartache and nightmare. But Oakland, Latavius still the guy, or are they running back by committee? And I'll just run down, quick hitter.
I think they're by committee because Washington's going to be the breakout guy.
Nice.
I'm with Professor. That's a genius.
But it's like him, and do you like Washington as well?
I do. Talent wins out.
And that's going to be a waiver, which is our next subject. It's obviously a good waiver pickup if you think DeAndre is going to win that battle. On to you, Artiste.
I'm going to say Washington too. It might take a little bit of time, but it will probably happen.
I'll pass on all of them. It's committee all season for me. I don't think anybody wins out this year. Next year, different story.
Yeah, I agree with you, actually, Canadian Bacon. I really think that it's going to be running back by committee this year in Oakland. I think Latavius Murray has just been a little bit too good to lose the job all the way. He's still got those flashes. I think they're going to give the ball and hope for a spark. I think that's Oakland. I mean, it's a team that's schizophrenic, absolutely schizophrenic. I think they give all these guys carries, which is bad if you have any of them, quite frankly. I think if you're in a dynasty league where you can keep a guy, I think DeAndre Washington's a great pickup. I think this year all these guys are going to be muddled. I think if you have Latavius Murray, it's time to worry. I've got him in one of my leagues, and I'm worried. Let's move on. Waiver targets, week 3. I'll start with you, CB. Take me through your waiver targets.
I think the first guy I already mentioned, and that's Chris Johnson in Arizona. He's getting more touches than David Johnson. That's all you need to know in an offense that should put up huge numbers against Buffalo. They haven't stopped anybody all season. If he gets the 15 to 19 touches that he's gotten the first 2 weeks, he's probably going to score you 8 to 10, maybe 12 points. If he gets in the end zone even more, he's a guy I'm looking at right away.
I like it. And that shocks me. And I poured over the stats this week, and I didn't realize that Chris Johnson had out-touched David Johnson. You guys have heard this on the panel a million times from me, and I know you guys feel the same way. Touches and targets. Touches for running back and targets by wide receiver are gold. You should always look at that, guys. Forget your quarterback. Forget even what they did in the game. If they're being targeted, the numbers will come. If you don't have the targets, it's impossible to score in fantasy. Artiste, on to you. Your waiver targets, week 3.
Well, I mean, this is a guy who's probably not available in most leagues, but he might still be out there in a few places because the name's just not there, and it's Travis Benjamin. Like I said, monster week last week. The guy's probably, become the #1 in San Diego. They're going to have to go to him like crazy now with no Wood, because they love to throw to Woodhead. And of course, Keenan Allen was already down. So now all of a sudden, this guy is going to get a ton of targets, I believe. He proved, what he can do last week. And, I understand some places he's already swooped up. But I know there's a lot of places he's out there still in some leagues. And if you can get him. Also, another guy I would still think about is if Fuller, if he's out there. Granted, another guy who's probably been swooped up, but Fuller for Houston.
Yeah, I think after last week, Will Fuller's probably gone. I mean, he was, and on this panel, we highly suggested Will Fuller. Professor was clearly on board and a big Fuller supporter, but I think he was probably the #1 pickup of last week. And I agree with you, Artiste. If he's there, go grab Will Fuller.
Right.
But if he's still there, you play in a bad league, and I'd like to join. I hope we can up the money to get in. Let's kick it to you, Big Red.
Yeah, big fan of Philip Dorsett. For the same reason T.Y. Hilton. With Moncrief going down, they don't look like they're a team that can run the ball very well. Andrew Luck's just about ready to catch a stride. The offensive line seems to be giving him a little bit more time. Philip Dorsett had some targets against the Lions. Yes, I know it's the Lions, but I think he's in for a big uptick, especially with Moncrief going down. They're talking almost 6 weeks now. This is a guy that he's very similar to T.Y. Hilton. I still think he's a great option this week, who will be available on the majority of leagues this year.
Yeah, which obviously for a waiver pickup, you want guys that are sitting out there that you actually can get. Let's go down to you, Professor, your waiver wires week 3.
I did want to talk about Dorsett, but so just briefly, T.Y. Hilton's going to get injured, so he's going to be #1 soon. But a guy...
he is fragile.
He is. A guy, if you're in deeper leagues, you may not have looked at him yet, but Dexter McCluster. San Diego just signed him to take over for Danny Woodhead. So all that production that they're getting in San Diego, it's going to go to him. And if Melvin Gordon happens to go down, I think he's in for a big, huge uptick.
I've got it's funny, I just was showing my notes to Big Red. My next topic was Dexter McCluster. Dexter McCluster coming in for Danny Woodhead. So let's do a quick hitter. I like Dexter McCluster a lot. I think he reminds me a lot of Danny Woodhead. The toughness of Danny Woodhead is hard to replace, but Dexter McCluster has a lot. He looks about the same size. He catches the football, and he's tough. It's going to be interesting to see him come into San Diego. Let's cut it down and let's do a quick hitter all the way down the row. Dexter McCluster worth a waiver wire pickup. Let's start with you, CB.
I like a different San Diego guy we can touch on later, so I'll pass on McCluster.
Dexter McCluster, you pick him up or not?
I'm so torn on him. I saw that, I saw them pick him up, and I used to love Dexter McCluster. And I always thought he was going to do big things for me when I pick him up, and I get him cheap, and then he never. So I'm going to have to say no on Dexter McCluster.
Not even as a stash, Dexter.
Perhaps as a stash, but I just don't see him doing a whole lot in the long run.
I think I can talk to D'Artiste in almost anything. maybe it's a stash, maybe stash.
Perhaps a stash.
Okay, Doc, I'll put him on. I like it.
You didn't talk to him. I don't think you're talking like a Matthew Stafford.
I can talk him almost anything, but not Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
Bianca, can we talk you into Dexter McCluster?
I don't know, I'm not easily convinced.
She's
tried pretty hard.
She's still a Danny Woodhead fan. Big Red,
All right,
Dexter McCluster.
If the smartest man on the panel tells you to pick him up, you go and scoop him.
I like the wisdom there.
It's that simple, right?
It's that simple.
And Professor, we know where you stand. Pick up Dexter McCluster. I think put him on your roster. I think Dexter McCluster could end up being a star. I like Danny Woodhead. But again, as we've talked about many times in this panel, a lot of guys are down on Tom Brady based on the system. Guys like Garoppolo come in and look like Tom Brady. I think Dexter McCluster comes into this offense and looks like Danny Woodhead. I think you're going to get this same sort of production. And that's not me hating on Danny Woodhead. That's saying the system's amazing. They play that little slot when they slide out the running back into the slot. I like what they do there in San Diego. I think it's a system. And I think Dexter McCluster is absolutely a pickup. And right now, I think you could slide Dexter McCluster on your roster without wasting a waiver spot. I'd grab him today. Stash him. You have extra spots. Guys, I want to know your lock of the week. We're going to talk a little bit about, not that we can do gambling, just if you were to gamble, what teams we like this week. And I'll start with you, Professor. Your favorite game of the week against the spread?
It's kind of a tough one this week, but I'm going to take Kansas City -3 at home at Arrowhead. I know they're playing the Jets, but Arrowhead's a tough place to play. They're 1-0 this year there, so we'll see what they can do. That's my favorite game.
I like it. I'm a little worried the Jets, that offense came out of the woodwork, and I don't know, they could be tough. Kansas City struggled. I like Kansas City's offense. I can't stand Alex Smith. Macklin's done nothing this year. That game worries me a little bit, but okay. We're all going to pick a game. Big Red.
Yeah, I'm in love with Arizona -4. Going into Buffalo. Buffalo made Ryan Fitzpatrick and really that entire offense look fantastic last week. They're going to put the PP blanket on Sammy Watkins, absolutely shut him down. Patrick Peterson is legit. I just don't see Buffalo moving the ball. I see this probably 2 or 3 scores, by Arizona.
I like that one as well as one of my standout games. I like Arizona by 9-10 points, easy. The spread really shocked me on that one, that it was 4. How did the Bills score in that? I'm not sure. Down to you, Artiste.
Well, this is probably going to sound shitty because I'm like playing a backup game. That's my second game, what you guys just talked about. I love Arizona. That's my second pick, but my number 1 pick, my lock of the week, I'm still sticking with the Jaguars and what we talked about earlier. Them having a monster game against that Baltimore defense, which is virtually non-existent. And, there's no more Ray Lewis anymore. I believe they've got Terrell Suggs. I think he might be their only guy on their defense. I think they're playing with one guy. But I love me some Jacksonville. But that is my second. I do love me some Arizona, too.
I really do think the Jaguars versus Baltimore is going to be a shootout this week. And if you have Jaguars in particular on your fantasy team this week, this is the week to play them. I think every one of those guys has a huge week. Allen Robinson in particular, he's due. Allen Robinson's had 2 subpar weeks, especially for him. this week he gets back on track and just torches Baltimore. I like it to be high scoring, but I really like Allen Robinson. I like most of the Jaguars this week, except for the running back, which we talked about earlier. Excuse me, CB, on to you.
Now, after these guys paid all their electric bills in Vegas after their pick last week for the over, I'll go to a pick that you can actually count on. We'll go with a team that's traveling from the West to the East Coast, playing an early game. I will take, you know what, I just lost my train of thought there. I'm sorry, guys.
Much like he did last week when he outpicked us.
I did.
He lost his train of thought when we all went over on the...
And I went under and I told you guys that I was right. I'm taking Tennessee minus a 1.5 against Oakland. Minus a 1.5 for no other reason than, like I said, a team traveling from West to East, 1 o'clock kickoff. Tennessee looked serviceable against the Lions last week, snuck out a win. I find them winning a home game, and that's all they need to do to cover for you.
Yeah, when the spread's close like that, I agree. Serviceable, though, I like that. They're serviceable. I don't know what you mean by that. Okay, we'll leave it alone. My lock of the week is the Cowboys minus 5.5 over the Bears. I think the Cowboys crushed the Bears this week. The Bears are without Cutler. They were a dumpster fire prior to that. Prescott looks better every week. Zeke Elliott finally got on track. I can't believe it's 5.5. I think the Cowboys absolutely crushed the Bears. I know they're on the road. I think they just crushed the Bears. So that's my lock of the week. Guys, let's go to takeaways from week 2. Takeaways and looking ahead. Professor, I'll start with you.
I'm looking at the Seattle offense. If you can find a better option, don't play any of them. I'm talking Russell Wilson, Thomas Rawls. They haven't put it together yet.
That 3 points last week didn't impress me.
It really didn't. It really didn't. You know, set them down. Wait until they can get that figured out before you start putting them in your starting lineup. Another thing, going on the Antonio Brown is watch the weather reports. I mean, if you're tossed up between a couple guys, watch where they're playing. You know, take the dome team versus the weather. You know, the weather can be a big factor, especially on wide receivers. Keep a lookout for that. And I guess one other thing I'd like to say is, can New England just put anybody in their lineup and win? I mean, what are they going to do when Tom Brady comes back? You know, I mean, everybody they put in that lineup.
It's interesting you said it because it's not just Tom Brady. For years with New England, it's been plug and play with their running backs. We've seen a million running backs, and it seems like whoever they put in tears it up. LeGarrette Blount, 94% of his carries in the first 2 games have been with 8 men or more in the box. He's still averaging 3.9 yards per carry. They know they're going to run the football, and they can't stop them anyway. I mean, and Garoppolo looked like Tom Brady the first 2 games before the injury. We'll have to see what's going on tonight. We film this on Thursdays, guys, so the game's going on right now. But who knows? The new guy might look like Tom Brady. So the system's amazing, obviously, in New England. Let's move on. Big Red, your takeaways from week 2.
Yeah, I mean, to go off what the professor said, there are a couple defenses now that I think are just completely shut down. I think Denver's defense is a game where you just sit them. If they're playing Denver, they don't see your field. Another team, I think Minnesota has made some great teams look average at best. I mean, so Denver
and
Minnesota
is absolutely on fire.
Absolutely. When you have a team that can't score, and that defense is on the field for 80% of the game, and you still can't score against them, that's impressive. I think those are the 2 teams that if you're playing Denver or Minnesota, you look for other options. I don't care if they're your first-round studs. Find someone else. That being said, you find any way to find guys to play Oakland. You find guys to play Indy, Atlanta, and I even think Tampa Bay is another one of those defenses that can't stop anybody. I mean, I think you got to be playing.
I agree with you on Denver. Denver, absolutely, when they play Denver, it's time to sit your fantasy, even some of your studs. But let's talk about a minute before I move on. Because you brought up Denver. Time to panic on the Denver wide receivers?
No. C.J. Anderson still looks like the man. I'm still going to say it. I've said it all year. I think Simeon is starting to find his run. Denver's offensive line still looks like they can run block better than pass block. As soon as they get it figured out, I think these are guys that you can buy low.
But again, no time to panic on C.J. Anderson. Guy's going to be a monster stud.
That's right.
No, I'm saying the wide receivers, Sanders, Demaryius Thomas, time to panic on those. Sanders, 88 yards and 0 touchdowns in 2 games.
Hey, Sanders to me wasn't really on my radar to begin with. I still love Demaryius Thomas. I think that's a guy who's too good to stop.
And no time to panic on Demaryius Thomas is what you're saying.
Correct.
Okay. Let's move on. Artis, takeaways, week 2.
Well, mine would be a general takeaway on Melvin Gordon in general. I just, you know, he's looked great so far, and he's clearly going to have an. I mean, I've said it myself that this guy is going to have a lot better year than last year, just based on, I don't know, the law of averages. He's a decent running back, and he's going to bounce back. You know, but keep in mind though, let's not go nuts on this guy. This is a guy last year. The Gordon fisherman had just as many touchdowns as Melvin Gordon did last year. Okay, so let's just keep that in mind and not go too nuts on Gordon. I think he's going to have a good year, but I don't think this guy's going to, like, you know, be the next Barry Sanders or anything like that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the Gordon fisherman didn't get to play in the NFL, but if he would have, they would have scored the same touchdowns as.
I thought I saw him in there for like a year.
Sure.
I thought he was like.
I would have seen the raincoat. I think we all would have recognized the raincoat.
Keep in mind
And the hat for
Cleveland though, and no one
Probably the
no one
hat.
sees that. No one sees that.
Let's kick it down to you, CB.
First, another offense that looks in disarray is Washington. And I think it's strictly on Kirk Cousins. It just looks awful. Deshaun Jackson, 3 catches, 40 yards, no touchdowns. Doesn't look anybody. Now, the one guy who might bring a spark to that offense is Josh Doxson. 1 catch, 60 yards in a very limited role coming off of injury, plus he's a rookie. But that offense just looks bad. And you've got a lot of targets. You've got Jordan Reed, you've got Matt Jones in the backfield. That team is loaded. And the only question I have is why is Cousins struggling to move the ball with this team?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of weapons there, and I think Doxson is going to be a star, but at win. And I mean, you've got so many people struggling for the football there.
Well, and that's my question is, how does Kirk Cousins spread that around, keep everyone happy, and win games or put up fantasy points? I think they're one and the same. You score points, you win fantasy, you win in the regular season, same deal. The other issue, and I'll go back to what I mentioned earlier, is Green Bay's offense. Looked bad through 2 weeks. Week 3, they get the Lions. The Lions are beat up all over the place. I think Richard Rodgers is a must-get if you've got him starting. The Lions have 0. They finished last week without enough linebackers to even put them on the field. I mean, if this offense struggles this week, I don't know if they can get it back together.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's week 3 seems early to panic, but a lot of times by week 3, much on your fantasy team, if you end up 0-3 and things just aren't clicking, it might be time to panic. Guys, before we move on to looking ahead, I know we did takeaways from week 3. Before going and looking ahead, I want to talk about a couple players really quickly because a lot of guys are wondering what to do with these guys. Let's start with Dwayne Washington, the running back for Detroit. Amir Abdullah is down. Theo Riddick is not a between the tackle guy. I want to just ask him, we can do it as a quick hitter. You guys can we'll do it as a slow hitter, I guess, because I want to welcome some comments. Dwayne Washington, do you go and get this guy, or do you stay with Theo Riddick to try to hold the football and run the rings between the tackles in Detroit? Professor, I'll start with you. Dwayne Washington in Detroit.
I'm not rushing out to pick him up. He's not guaranteed to be the number 2 guy. They still have Zach Zenner. They have some guys that are signed to the practice squad. They still have some people they're bringing in to try out. They're bringing back Joyce Bell. I don't know if they're going to sign him or not, but I don't think it's decided yet, so I wouldn't rush out and pick him up.
Big Red.
Yeah, for the first time, I think all year, I gotta disagree. What happened? To me, he's just a guy that, again, he's just a guy. However, in this offense, they're gonna run the ball a lot. You've got great offensive weapons. Jim Bob Cooter.
I gotta help you, though. See, I'm there.
It's gonna give them the rock.
I'm paying attention to this show.
And they're a team that when you get down to the goal line, you no longer have that giant option to throw the football to. If Ebron is banged up this week, I think he's going to get a couple goal line carries. He's going to be touchdown dependent, but if you can get him as a flex guy, I think that he's going to be the man. The problem you run into with Theo Riddick is they know they can't give him more than probably 10, 15 touches from week to week. That's not your foundation back. You're going to need, just like Cincinnati, you're going to need a guy like Jeremy Hill who's going to get the ball near the goal line. To me, that's Dwayne Washington.
Yeah, excuse me. They need to change the pace back for sure. Theoretic's not going to take it between the tackles inside the 6. He's not going to have that many offensive touchdown opportunities when they get close. Last week, Dwayne Washington, limited action, 4 carries, 31 yards. Looked good in those 4 carries. Not a large sample size, but still impressive when he got the chance to hold the rock. On to you, Artis.
Oh no, not now.
We gave practice all week.
That is my bad. I like him. I mean, the professor makes a good point. It's a little bit scary when you got Joy Bell back there and other guys there to re-signing guys and all that. But I think he's going to be the real deal. It's scary because of Theo Riddick and how many touches he gets in terms, especially out of the backfield. But like you say, down near the goal line, he's going to be the guy. The question is, can Matthew Stafford get them?
We're back to Matthew Stafford. I will say this. I think that Theo Riddick, and I think the panel will agree, I don't want to speak for them, but I do think they agree, with Amir Abdullah out, whether Dwayne Washington does anything, it's definitely an upgrade for Theo Riddick. I mean, because he's going to get more carries, he's going to get more touches, more looks with Amir Abdullah out. I don't know how long, I looked today for a lot. I've looked all week. I don't know if you guys know, but I'm not sure. And I don't know anybody knows, including the Detroit coaching staff, exactly how long Amir Abdullah is going to miss. But as long as he's out, Theo Riddick definitely gets an upgrade. Finish this up on the topic, CB.
You know, I do like Dwayne Washington. A lot of the reasons what Red said, but I know we told you guys wait the preseason accordingly. He was playing against backups and guys that were going to be working at the car wash this week, but he looks explosive when he touches the ball. You touched on it, the 31 yards on 4 carries, that's real production against NFL talent. I think they're going to use him in the right situations. He's a flex play. I like him as a stash guy, and if you need him in a pinch as a flex move, he's a real good option there.
Well put.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, Canadian bacon. Yeah, I mean, Detroit, it's really, they're ready to go off the rails, I think. Everybody's worried. As I've said before in the show, we filmed this out of Detroit. I think we're all a little worried about Detroit. Week 1, everybody was saying Super Bowl. Week 2, it's a dumpster fire. So and with the injuries, there's problems there. Let's talk for a minute about Carolina, guys. Jonathan Stewart goes down. You have a lot of guys picking up Fozzie Whitaker, but there's still Artis Payne out there. Nobody really knows who to take. So I want to hear from the panel, Artis Payne or Fozzie Whitaker? Who do you pick up on the waiver? And I'll just start, and we'll do it as quick hitters down the line. You, Canadian Bacon.
Neither.
The man says neither.
I don't think either are ever going to get enough touches or be consistent enough for you to put them in your lineup every week. There's no reason.
I don't disagree with that completely. I will say Carolina strikes me as a team when they get inside the 6. It's the quarterback.
Yeah, it's Cam Newton.
It's Cam Newton. It's the Cam Newton show. He's going to want to vulture that touchdown. On to you, Artis.
I have to admit, I was thinking about saying the same.
You got to pick one of them. Pick one of them. Fozzie Whitaker. Bianca, Artis Payne or Fozzie Whitaker?
Fozzie, still like the name.
Well, makes as much sense to me as anything else anybody said today. Big Red.
I like Artis Payne. I think he was actually getting carries with Jonathan Stewart. I think that actually increases the run load. They have, what I looked at, the best strength of schedule for running backs the rest of the way.
It gets soft from here on.
Yeah. Fozzie Whitaker, probably going to vulture some goal line carries, but you were getting that with Cam Newton anyways. So I think Artis Payne probably gets you a consistent 60 to 65 yards. It gets you in the end zone. That's running back 2 production. I think that's what you're looking for. If it's a flex, if you're in a bind, he's the man.
Professor, you guys back to being BFFs? Are you going to agree with Big Red?
I like Fozzie Whitaker.
I need a chair down there.
I was worried because if you were back into, I was going to buy you guys matching jammies. But since you already have it, I like it. Footies.
Yeah, that's right.
So last week when Fozzie Whitaker came in, 16 carries, 100 yards. I mean, that's really good production. We're talking about their schedule easing up. Certainly not this week. They play Minnesota. So this week you don't start any of them. Don't even think about it. After that, we see Stewart have he's going to come back from his hamstring in a couple weeks. But Fozzie Whitaker, just by last week's production.
Yeah, actually, weeks 3 and 4, rough matchups. Weeks 5 through 14, they slide into really, really easy land for running backs. The defense has softened up quite a bit for Carolina. And actually, their schedule does that as well, which is interesting coming off the Super Bowl. Guys, looking ahead, your final thoughts going into week 3. And Professor, I'll stay with you. Final thoughts looking ahead, week 3.
I can't wait to see what the Benjamin brothers do. That's Travis Benjamin and Kelvin Benjamin. Last week, 200 yards, 4 touchdowns. I'm just excited to see what they're going to do this week.
And Kelvin Benjamin's been on fire, and his first touchdown was absolutely amazing. He caught the slant and completely ran over the defensive back to bounce in the end zone. Good stuff. I think he and Cam become a monster combination this year, even more than last year. Big Red.
Yeah, I'm going to end it, as I'm going to start doing now for you. I'm going to give you the absolute, if you have to put it in the dirt, these are the 3 guys you're going to pick up. I really like Mariota versus Oakland if you're in an absolute bind. I think Oakland's getting torched by quarterbacks. He's a guy that's available in 80% of leagues. Really like Vereen versus Washington. Washington's getting absolutely torched by running backs, 30-plus points in the first 2 games. And I like Robert Woods versus Arizona. Him or Salas can get into the end zone with Watkins getting covered by Peterson. I think that they have a little bit of trouble covering the guys in the slot. So those are 3 names that if you absolutely are in a bind and have to pick somebody up Sunday morning, those are the guys to go get.
I like it. Artis, looking ahead, week 3.
Well, for one, I would not. The first guy I think of that I'm not going to play this week is Ray Rice. That guy will punch a bitch on an elevator. Okay, so do not play that son of a bitch. That's just my thought there. But
only quality information for our viewers.
Well, yeah.
Only quality information.
Exactly.
Artis, no playing Ray Rice.
Yeah, and beyond that, don't play Le'Veon Bell till next week. I think he's going to have a bigger week next week than he will this week. Whatever, that's all I got.
I like it. Canadian Bacon, finish this up looking ahead.
I know a lot of guys are streaming tight ends. I think this week you go out and grab Richard Rodgers. I told you Green Bay's offense is terrible, but Detroit's even worse against tight ends. He's going to find the end zone. They've given up 5 tight end touchdowns in 2 weeks. Odds are he's going to score for you, and that's all you're looking for when you're streaming a tight end. Secondly, with Coleman breaking his hand in Cleveland, I want to see how bad that team really is. They are absolutely going to be awful, and I kind of want to watch that football team just because of the sheer, how bad can you be?
I like it. Mike, looking ahead to next week, I really like the comeback of Devontae Freeman. I know a lot of people on the panel aren't going to like that. They've been talking about Tevin Coleman for since preseason. Tevin Coleman's going to take the job. Last week, Devontae Freeman out-touched Tevin Coleman 17-12. He looked like by far the better back. He had no targets last week. This week, I think he gets a ton of targets. It's the breakout week for Devontae Freeman. I think he has a monster game. Maybe it doesn't return him to RB1, but certainly into solid RB2 status for Devontae Freeman. Guys, 2 weeks in the books. Looking forward to week 3. As always out there, viewers, subscribe to the show. It's free. Win a championship. Till next week. Cheers, boys.
Fellas.
You actually need a drink.
I know.